my name is Ashley Flaunt, and this is going to be my final project for Music 334, Women in Music. This project is going to be a podcast on women in the music industry, specifically sexual ties in music all around the world. So first for the podcast, I will be joined by some of my very, very good friends. Starting off our podcast, it is going to be Daniela Gontier. She is half Italian and has lived in Italy for about a third of her life, and she is going to shed some light on the Italian music industry and sexual ties in all of Europe. So that would be very fun to talk to her about that. She is very excited to shed some light on that. We'll be following that up by my friend Ibrahim Haider. He is from Pakistan originally and then moved to Qatar later on in his life. So he'll be talking about mostly Pakistani music culture and sexual ties in Pakistani music, and is going to shed some light on some interesting things that I think will shock a lot of people on this podcast or viewing this. Lastly, I'm just going to do a summary and kind of conclude what we've all talked about and add some of my own points in there. So have fun watching. I hope you enjoy. So this is our first guest, Daniela Gontier. If you could just introduce yourself a little bit, Daniela.
Hi, my name is Daniela. I'm half Filipino, half Italian, and I've spent a lot of my life growing up in Italy, so I'm pretty familiar with the music there.
Yeah, this is my roommate. We met last year, just for a little bit of context, and without further ado, let's get right into the questions. So our first question of the day will be, would you say that there are sexual ties in Italian music?
So, I find that in Italian music, at first, like, even the old stuff is very, like, romanticized, and it's very, like, more toward, like, love songs towards women, or it's, like, looking after women, or if they're, like, cheating on them or something, it's, like, going for the woman, being upset that they're gone, or, like, longing for girls and stuff like that.
So it's more like about the love for that woman, and like if they disrespected them, then more about like the sexual ties to the woman.
I find it's a lot more like love related, and if it is sexual, it's more like enjoying their sexuality or praising their sexuality rather than like sexually like degrading them in a way, which I find is very popular in music here.
Yeah, I think a lot of us will find that. That's really great to hear. So I wanted to ask you, would you say with Italian music, would you say compared to Western music is more tame or explicit?
I think it would be a lot more tame, because I find music here, it's very explicit and very
It's almost like a
sexualized.
different type,
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah. I
Like
think,
a different type of explicit.
I think that, like, I find Italians really, like, especially younger people in our generation and stuff, really, like, look to Western music and stuff for inspiration, and they find that it's, like, super popular, and that's how you get the views, and, like, just sexualizing women is kind of, like, the easiest route to get views and get people on board, especially, like, younger boys and stuff, because it's all something that they're all going through, I guess.
Would you say that Italian musicians are sexualized in the media and in music videos as much as in Western music?
I would say definitely not as much as in Western music, but because most of their music is very romanticized and stuff, if in music videos they're trying to appeal sexually, it's usually like men shirtless trying to like appeal to the women that they're attracting in the songs. Does that make sense? Or to show like their heartbreak, but also in the same way showing how attractive they look with their muscles and such. So I feel like in sexual terms, that's like the most it would go, but occasionally in some rap songs that are very inspired by Western music, there's definitely some girls shaking like their butts and stuff like that and trying to appeal sexually to the audience.
Okay, and would you say with like female artists specifically, are they almost like sexually exploited in their videos, or are there sexual ties in their music videos?
Not really. I guess the way they like portray themselves is like in a way to again attract the opposite gender, but usually I find the female artists don't really like, they're not trying to, and they're not very sexualized either. They don't dress very provocatively, and they...
So you would say it's like more looking good for the opposite gender, but not not exposing.
Yeah, I'd say that.
So for our final question, I just wanted to ask you if there's any artists or songs that you think really embody the sexual ties in Italian music?
So I think for female artists, my number one pick would be Chiamico Martina, which is she was featured in like the equivalent of Italian X Factor, and she really made like the audience like stop because of the way she did her music, I find. But the best song that would show the sexual ties in Italy would be the number one song right now, which was like featured in Sanremo, which is the number one musical festival, which is called Brividi, and it is pretty much another love song, and it has a few sexual ties in it, and it talks about how like although the sex may not be good, like please love me still, basically, which is kind of what's happening. And it kind of shows how what I was talking about previously about how it's mostly longing for women and wanting them
and romanticizing them almost, and not so much like degrading.
Yeah, not necessarily degrading. And yeah.
Okay, and I'll insert a couple clips of that artist and the song that Danny just recommended here. Okay, so I think that's all I have to ask Daniela Gontier. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
And on to our next guest.